For PsychCentral.com, I'm Summer Boretsky, and today I have a question for you. How persuadable do you think you are? Today we're going to look at 6 tricky persuasion methods that have probably been used to influence you, whether you realized it at the time or not. We're also going to look at each of those techniques and see how you can use them to your advantage to persuade others. This video is based off of a Psych Central library post called Persuasion and How to Influence Others by Steve Bressert, PhD, and he wrote his article based off of this book, Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. Okay, the first tricky persuasion technique is reciprocation. People are more willing to comply with requests, like for favors, services, information, or concessions, from those people who have provided such things first. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you get a letter in the mail from some type of nonprofit organization, and they want money from you. If it's just a letter, maybe you won't donate. But if they send you a letter requesting a donation and also include maybe 100 free return address label stickers that you can use on envelopes, a free little gift, you're more likely to send them a donation. Why? Because they already gave you something and you feel obligated to reciprocate. Now, maybe you've been tricked by this before. Have you ever gone to one of those presentations for like a timeshare or something where you get a free lunch or, a free overnight stay at a hotel or something of the sort? Why are they spending money on you? Well, they're spending money on you to convince you to reciprocate. They're using this principle to try and persuade you. And how can you use this principle to your advantage? Well, this one is pretty obvious. If you ask someone for a favor, do a little something for them first before asking. Number 2 is commitment and consistency. People are more willing to be moved in a particular direction if they see it as consistent with an existing or recently made commitment. Okay, what does that mean? Let's say you spend one Saturday afternoon volunteering down at the local animal shelter. You and the other volunteers are really great targets for the animal shelter. They will probably ask you for donations afterward. And why? Because you are more likely to donate than someone who hasn't recently volunteered. You've already demonstrated your commitment to the idea that, we really need to help out these animals in a shelter. And so the organization will play on that commitment of yours to request money. And if they do, you're more likely to donate. Now, you've probably really been tricked by this one around Christmas time before, especially if you have children. Here's what happens. Marketers play up some sort of crazy toy that's, the super popular toy of the year. And what do your kids do? They say, Mom, Dad, I want that toy, I want that toy. And you promise them, okay, honey, I'll get you that Tickle Me Elmo or whatever the toy of the year is. But you go out to the store. And it's not on the shelves. It's sold out. When is it coming in? Oh, sometime soon. But the stores never really seem to get stock in. There's a reason for that. That's actually intentional. You can't find the toy by December 24th, and so you don't want to let down your kids, so you buy a whole ton of other things hoping to make them feel better on Christmas morning. Lo and behold, after Christmas, what happens? The toy comes back on shelves. You go to the toy store with your child, they see the toy, they say, Mom, you promised to get that. And you end up spending more money than you wanted to originally. Because how are you going to say no to your child when they say, Mom, you promised? You're not. Now, here's how you can use this one to your advantage. Let's say you want to try and quit smoking, or you want to start exercising, or doing something to adopt a healthier lifestyle. If you make a public statement, let's say to your friends, or perhaps on Facebook or your blog, saying that I'm committed to doing this. Within 6 weeks, I want to be able to run for 20 minutes a day. You've made that commitment. You've made it verbally, and so you're going to feel pressure to go ahead and fulfill that commitment, more so than if you hadn't publicly stated it. The third persuasion method in Robert Cialdini's book is authority. People are more willing to follow the directions or recommendations of someone that they view as an authority figure. Few people are self-assertive enough to question authority directly, so we sometimes find ourselves blindly following what authority figures are asking us to do. Here's how this one might have tricked you before. Have you ever seen a commercial on TV where a lawyer is talking to you and telling you you ought to be doing this or calling this phone number or buying this product? And you think it's a lawyer, but down at the bottom of the screen it says, this is not a lawyer, this is just a paid actor. Well, they're dressed like a lawyer, they're wearing a suit, they're doing those things for a reason to give you the sense that they're an authority figure to you. You're more likely to follow them that way. Also, if you've ever taken advice from a doctor without questioning him, you've also fallen under this trap. Just because a doctor is an authority figure doesn't necessarily mean we shouldn't ask them the rationale behind their decisions for us, the tests they want us to take, the medications they want us to take. But some of us might be afraid to ask questions because we see doctors as an authority figure. So how can you use this persuasion technique to your advantage? Changing what you're wearing, changing the way you position yourself, changing the way you interact with the things around you. If you're further from other people, that exerts authority. If you're dressed up in business clothing, that exerts authority. You can alter these things in order to persuade others. The fourth persuasion method is social validation. People are more willing to take a recommended step if they see evidence that many others, especially similar others, are also taking that step, buying something or using something. You could also sort of think of this as the in-crowd phenomenon. You know, you want to feel like you're part of the group. Here's how this particular technique has probably tricked you before. Have you ever watched television and have convinced yourself that you need a certain product because you see someone who's very similar to you using that product? Maybe you're a woman in your mid-30s and you see someone on TV, on a commercial, using some type of age-defying cream. And you don't necessarily think you're old enough for that product yet, but the woman on the ad is your age. That might convince you, hey, other people my age are using this product? It's time for me to start. I better go out and buy that. Now here's how you can use this one to your advantage. If you have a toddler, let's say, and they're using their pacifier still and you want them to get rid of it, you can point out other kids that are your toddler's own age who don't use a pacifier any longer and use them as examples. The fifth persuasion technique is scarcity. People find objects and opportunities more attractive to the degree that they are scarce, rare, or dwindling in availability. All you need to do to see this technique in action is to grab a copy of your Sunday paper and look through the circulars. You'll see phrases like sale for 1 week only, or limited quantities, or exclusive. These words lead us to believe that the objects being sold are rare or difficult to get. Now here's how you might have been tricked by this one before. A lot of department stores these days, instead of putting 20 of the same shirt on a rack, they'll only put out 5, maybe one of each size, to make you think that there's only one shirt in your size left, and if you like it even at least this much, you better buy it now or else it won't be available. If you've made that purchase just because you think that item was the very last one, then you've fallen prey to this method. Now, to use this technique to your advantage, let's say you're looking for a job. What you're going to want to do on your cover letter or your resume perhaps is to highlight some of the rare achievements that you have accomplished. I am one of only 20 people licensed to do X, Y, and Z in the state of Pennsylvania. To the employer, that will make you look rare, and won't that make the employer want to hire you more? And finally, the sixth persuasion technique in the psychology of persuasion is liking and friendship. People prefer to say yes to those they know and like. Have you ever had a friend invite you to a Tupperware party or any other party where they try to sell cookware or jewelry or anything like that? If you felt bad saying no, you're not alone. Most people would. And so if you said yes to go to this party, even though you weren't in the market for cookware, then you've fallen victim to this technique. Likewise, if you need to sell something yourself, let's say your kid is selling cookies for the Girl Scouts or candy for for their marching band fundraiser, the first people you're going to want to go to is family and friends. Knocking on the doors of strangers might yield some sales, but the people that you know are going to feel pressured to buy because they like you. So being aware of these principles of influence can not only help you to influence others when you need to, it can protect you from being so vulnerable to marketing and advertising and even persuasion by other people. So the next time you get a free sample of some type of cookie or cracker at the grocery store, before you reach for the box to purchase that item, think about this video and think about reciprocation and all of the other principles of influence. It might save you from making some decisions that you really didn't want to make. As always, thanks for watching, and you can join us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/PsychCentral. See you next week.